Dubai was never just a city. It was a statement. A carefully engineered illusion of perfection where everything from the skyline to the lifestyle felt controlled, polished, and untouchable. For decades, it stood as proof that ambition backed by money and precision could override geography, climate, and even instability. But in 2026, something shifted. Not slowly, not gradually, but all at once. In just 30 days, nearly 2.5 million people attempted to leave. Airports turned into exit funnels. Hotels that once operated at near full capacity dropped to just 25%. Over 80% of flights were cancelled or rerouted. And across the city, from luxury malls to artificial islands, a strange and unfamiliar silence began to spread. This isn't just a story about decline. It's about what happens when the one thing holding everything together, trust, starts to disappear. If you want more deep reality-based breakdowns like this that go beyond headlines and expose what's really happening beneath the surface, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications. Because what you're about to see is not just about Dubai. It's about how fast modern systems can unravel when perception changes. Look up at the skyline and you'll still see it. The Burj Khalifa, 828 m of steel and glass piercing the sky. On paper. Chapter 2, Burj Khalifa. Nothing has changed. It still stands. It still dominates. It still attracts attention. But the meaning behind it has shifted. Before February 28, 2026, it was a symbol of control, of power, of human dominance over nature. After that date, it became something else entirely because when emergency evacuations forced all 163 floors in a lockdown, when the observation decks shut down, when streaks of fire lit up the sky nearby, the tallest building in the world suddenly stopped feeling like the safest place to be. Visitor rates to its observation decks dropped from nearly 48% of all tourists to below 15%. Not because the building failed, but because the perception around it did. And that's where the real story begins. Because Dubai was never selling buildings. It was selling certainty. The idea that inside this city everything works, everything flows, everything is safe. But the moment that idea is questioned even slightly, the entire experience changes. Over 80,000 bookings connected to the Burj Khalifa and surrounding downtown area were cancelled within a single week after late February. And this wasn't just fear. It was recalculation. People started asking a simple question. Is the experience still worth the cost? When a $175 ticket comes with uncertainty, long queues, and risk, even if small, it stops feeling like luxury. It starts feeling like exposure. Now move just below that tower into what was once the busiest retail space on Earth, Dubai Mall. A place designed to. Chapter 3, Dubai Mall ***. Never feel empty. A place where movement was constant, where crowds defined its identity. But today, the corridors tell a different story. Foot traffic has dropped dramatically. Entire luxury wings echo with emptiness. And the reason isn't just fewer tourists. It's a shift in behavior. When uncertainty rises, spending changes. People stop buying for status and start thinking about security. This is where the concept of luxury begins to collapse because luxury only works when people feel safe enough to enjoy it. The Dubai fountain, once performing every 30 minutes for massive crowds, now sits silent. Not broken, not removed, just paused. And that pause is symbolic because a city built on constant spectacle cannot afford stillness. Yet stillness is exactly what's spreading. But to truly understand what's happening, you have to leave the city center and go to the place that powers everything, Dubai International Airport, Terminal 3. This was once the beating heart of global connectivity, handling over 95 million passengers annually, connecting 291 destinations across 110 countries. But in March 2026, that heart began to fail. On March 1st alone, over 3,150 flights were cancelled after disruptions triggered widespread operational shutdowns. Within weeks, inbound traffic dropped by nearly 80%. Outbound flights, however, told a different story. Fully booked, overpriced, desperate. People weren't arriving, they were leaving. One-way tickets to London, New York, and Singapore sold out within hours, often at 5 times their normal price. Parking lots filled with abandoned cars. Luxury vehicles left behind with keys still inside, not because people forgot, but because they didn't have time. And that's the difference between a slow decline and a sudden shift. When people leave this fast, it's not planned. It's instinct. Because Dubai runs on movement. It imports nearly 70% of its essential goods. It depends on constant inflow of people, of capital, of trade. When that flow weakens, the entire system feels it immediately. Duty-free stores empty. Supply chains delay. Chapter 4, Palm Jumeirah. Airlines reroute. And suddenly a city built to connect the world starts feeling disconnected from it. Now take that disruption and place it in Palm Jumeirah, an artificial island designed to represent ultimate security and exclusivity. A place where the ultra-wealthy believed they could isolate themselves from everything outside. But isolation doesn't guarantee protection. In early 2026, occupancy rates dropped by nearly 45%. Multi-million-dollar villas went up for sale at losses of up to 30%. Not because they lost value structurally, but because they lost appeal. Because here's the truth. Maintaining an artificial island in the middle of the sea requires constant stability. Energy, water, desalination, supply chains almost function perfectly. When even one part becomes uncertain, the entire system feels fragile. And for people who can afford to leave, fragility is enough. You see it everywhere. Supercars covered in dust, beach clubs running half-empty, pools no longer hosting parties. And at night, instead of loud celebrations, you hear something else. The quiet departure of boats leaving the island. Not in panic, but in certainty. Chapter 5, Dubai Marina. Now contrast that with Dubai Marina. Once the symbol of modern urban life, glass towers, waterfront views, a lifestyle marketed to the global middle and upper middle class. But this is where the economic pressure becomes most visible because Marina wasn't built for billionaires. It was built for professionals. And professionals react differently. By April 2026, hotel bookings in the Marina area dropped by over 60%. Food delivery orders declined by nearly 90%. And that tells you something important. This isn't just about tourism. It's about daily life breaking down. When a middle class starts leaving, the city loses its rhythm. Restaurants close earlier. Cafes empty. Buildings stay lit, but without life inside them. And when that happens, the illusion fades fastest. The same pattern appears in places like Atlantis and high-end resorts. Prices drop, discounts increase, but demand doesn't return because luxury without security feels like a risk, not a reward. Guests begin to question everything, not just the experience, but the environment around it. And then you reach the financial core, deficit. This is where the shift becomes invisible, but far more powerful because money doesn't panic. It moves quietly. Within weeks of late February 2026, capital outflows reached record levels. Not through dramatic exits, but through silent transfers, funds relocating, offices downsizing, meetings moving online. Because finance runs on trust more than anything else, and when trust weakens, money doesn't wait. Chapter 6, Jebel Ali Port. The same applies to Jebel Ali Port, the logistics backbone of the region. Once handling over 9,000 global businesses, operating as one of the most efficient ports in the world. But when maritime insurance premiums spike and routes become uncertain, companies adapt. They reroute, delay, relocate, and suddenly containers stop moving. Warehouses fill up. Cranes slow down. Not because capacity disappeared, but because confidence did. And then there's Global Village, a place designed to celebrate unity, diversity, globalization. But in 2026, it reveals something deeper. When stability disappears, people don't come together. They pull back. Visitor numbers dropped by up to 75%. Vendors left early. Supplies didn't arrive. And what was once a celebration of cultures became a reminder of how fragile that connection really is. Finally, look at the residential areas. Places like Al Bersha. No headlines, no massive beaches, just quiet change. Families leaving, homes going on sale, lights turning off one by one. Chapter 7, Conclusion. This is where the real story lives. Because cities don't collapse from the top down, they unravel from the inside out. And what about Expo City? The place designed to represent the future. Smart systems, sustainable infrastructure, advanced technology. It still stands. Exactly as designed. But without people, without trust, without activity, it becomes something else. Not a vision of the future, but a reminder that technology alone cannot hold a system together. Because in the end, Dubai didn't face a financial collapse. It faced something more dangerous, a perception shift, a realization that even the most polished systems are only as strong as the trust behind them. And once that trust cracks, everything built on top of it begins to feel different. So now the real question is not whether Dubai will recover. It probably will in some form. The real question is whether it will recover into the same version of itself or something entirely new. Because once people start seeing things differently, they rarely go back to seeing them the same way again. So what do you think? Is this just a temporary disruption or the beginning of a deeper transformation? Would you still visit Dubai the same way you once imagined, or does it feel different now? Drop your thoughts in the comments. And if you want more deep, unfiltered analysis like this, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications because the next story is already unfolding.